when you're dealing with strong personalities, alphas, my advice is to hold your ground and set up your boundaries so that once they start to push you around, they're going to keep going. So if you don't stand up for the respect that you deserve, you're just not going to get it. And even in personal relationships or just professional relationships, you want to make sure that you hold your ground because remember when you train people how to treat you by your actions. Yeah, well, welcome to the channel.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Talking about difficult clients.
What's going on, guys? We're going to talk a little bit about difficult clients. So I had something happen to me recently where I had an email come in and then I responded to everybody within 5 minutes, even had them on the phone because I'm that proactive. And then they were, looking at my material. I get a call from somebody higher up after they looked at the material because I had it within 5 minutes. And then I get this boss personality on the phone, the real person. Like you could tell by this person's voice that they're really well put together and very assertive. So something within my company is I have a 3 hour minimum, and it's just worded like that because we're not going to come out of the house for any. We have a certain number where we don't come out of the house, so that's that's why it says 3 hour minimum. Now they don't. Their event doesn't have to be 3 hours, but there's just a minimum for us to want to come out of the house. So I get a phone call from this boss person, and they're like, "Well, this 3 hour minimum doesn't sound like you're working with me." I just want to make sure that I get the best price. And we're going to do all this work to put you into our system. So I got to make sure that I'm getting the best price. And I'm even bringing you more business 4 times a year. And I was like, okay, perfect. Thanks. And it was really assertive. So within this phone call, I asked for another email because they also wanted to include some pipe and drape. So basically, they got the contract within 5 minutes. I ended up talking to the boss person. I asked for another email. And then the next day, I get an email to register with their company. I registered with their company and then sent them off an email saying, hey, everything should be filled out. And then the third day, my automation goes out and says, hey, look, we got this guy on hold for the original offer. And then they responded back with, since you didn't get back to us with a second quote, we went with somebody else. So there you have it. Somebody difficult. Do you want to work with somebody difficult? Are you at a place with your company that you'd have to put up with something like this? Not once, but 4 times a year. And I was kind of happy that headache kind of went away. Yet at the same time, I wasn't going to let them think that I had dropped the ball because they said I didn't communicate with them, yet they got responses within 5 minutes on the first day. I think it took me an hour the second day to fill out their form. And then the third day was an automated email reminder. And then for them to tell me that I wasn't in touch with them or hadn't contacted them is just them making up an excuse. They found somebody cheaper, yet I wasn't going to let that fall on me. So I responded back, as professionally as possible, saying, hey, look, I was on the phone with this boss person and they said they were going to send me an email so that I have a paper trail. Maybe that's old school technology, but I need somewhere where I can go back and search that they asked for X, Y, and Z within an email. So I didn't get the email for the second quote because they wanted things like pipe and drape. So I told this to the assistant. I was like, I can't give you a second quote, which I asked for an email for a paper trail, and I can't give you the quote for pipe and drape without measurements, just so you know. So it was a little back and forth. I'm kind of glad it didn't work out, in the end, but yet at the same time, I wasn't going to let them place the responsibility on me. And ask yourself a hard question, right? Like, are you ready to take on these types of clients? Well, maybe you're just starting out and these are the kind of clients you got to work with. But I will tell you, the grass is greener once you plant more seeds.
Sometimes you do have to put up with a difficult client, yet what we want for you to get to the point where you don't have to. When you have to do something, there's no choice. Yet Scott does a great job and he doesn't have to do anything. He gets a choice on where he wants to work and where he doesn't want to work because he's put in the time and maybe you haven't yet. But as you get bigger, stronger, and have more ability to do what you're doing, then you'll have more of a choice to take the clients that you want to take and understanding because you're going to if you're a salesperson or if you're on the phone with people, you will after a while get that unconscious competence about what kind of client this is. After you answer the phone, you'll get if they're telling you, if they're not asking, if they're telling you you have to do this, you have to do that, listen to the words they say. See if it, and that's even with life, and anybody in your life that tells you you have to, or you should, or you must, you look for those key words, because if that's somebody who's telling you you don't have a choice. And truthfully, most of the time you have a choice. Now, when you sign a contract, you kind of really don't have a choice anymore. Yet before that contract is signed, you want to figure out, my he's got a different contract, but mine says if they don't sign that sucker in a day, then we have the opportunity not to take the gig anymore, because I don't want to be put on hostage to say that I signed a contract that says I have to provide whatever you said. But back to the difficult client, you have to figure out, is it really worth it in your happiness scale? If you, every time you deal with this client for the rest of your life, you're going, oh, this is the worst client, or then it's just like, and it takes your happiness and it gives you stress, and just think, is it really worth all that stress you're going to get? And more than likely, after you get big enough where we want you to be, is that you'll probably get a different gig that pays the same or even more without the difficulty. That's what we're striving for. And you can tell and Scott always does a win-win situation. He's not trying to overpower or underpower. The thing when he says when I say a 3 hour minimum, like he said, he was talking to me, they don't have to get us 3 hours, but they have to pay us for those 3 hours, because we're reasonable at those 3 hours. It's a good price. And we can't go out for less than that, because it's going to knock us out of time. We're not going to have that time or the person to put in there. And our equipment still costs the same. It doesn't matter how much we're getting paid. If we're carrying $10,000 worth of equipment and something breaks, they're not going to, it doesn't matter if it was their power source or whatever, and it blows out our system. It doesn't even friggin' matter. We have to provide another system. So as a good professional, we bring backups to make sure we can be professional, and because we're guaranteed. So when you're guaranteed yourself, you got to understand, are you worth it? And if you are worth it, stand your ground, because just think if one of your entertainers or something went there and, a system went out for some reason and it was their power source or whatever, and you lost a $3,000 system, it they don't give a poo. They don't. They're like, well, it's your fault. And if they're going to blame you already, like he was blamed for, they wanted to switch the blame on him. And we don't have to take that as entertainers. I'm an entertainer and I'm a agent. But if you treat your entertainers, like he was making a point, if if you treat your entertainers, after a while, if you treat them bad, you're not going to have those entertainers. So sometimes it's better to fire a client than it is to hurt entertainer is going to be there 20 years for you.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people understand that when you're doing a sales call, it's an audition both ways. So you want to make sure it works for you and it works for them. And when you're dealing with strong personalities, alphas, my advice is to hold your ground and set up your boundaries, so that once they start to push you around, they're going to keep going. So if you don't stand up for the respect that you deserve, you're just not going to get it. And even in personal relationships or just professional relationships, you want to make sure that you hold your ground, because remember, when you train people how to treat you by your actions. But yeah, guys, we got a Facebook group, www.coachscottking.com. Sarpo and I, we're in the Facebook group once a week. And if you have any questions, make sure to drop them by. He's an NLP certified practitioner, so many different titles, but basically both of us are life coaches as well. So if you need any help on that end, we're here for you. www.coachscottking.com.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Happiness
Yeah.
coach. All right.